everyone? This is We Talk Football. I'm Lance Leach.
I'm Brian Wagner.
And, if you haven't checked out our website by now, it's wetalkfootball.org, but I'm assuming you probably have. You should also go like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter.
And also subscribe to us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and YouTube, which is where you're probably watching this video right now.
Yeah.
Part 2.
Yeah, part 2. Part 2 of our preseason preview. So we're going to start off with the predictions for each division, who we think is going to win it, and who we view as the biggest threat to them not taking home the division championship. We'll start with the AFC North. My pick for the division champ is the Cincinnati Bengals. This is kind of becoming an unpopular pick. There's a lot of analysts out there that are predicting they won't even make the playoffs. I don't understand how. They lost some veteran leaders, but they had the guys behind them ready to take over. Other than Pittsburgh's offense, they still don't have the defense to compete. Cincinnati still has most of their defense intact. The Browns, they're not going to compete, not this year anyways. Mm-hmm. And then Baltimore, their defense still lacks needs a lot of help in their secondary if they are going to be able to take on anyone. Cincinnati is still the best team in this division, in my opinion.
I think one of the biggest, I have the exact same as you. I think one of the biggest knocks on Cincinnati right now is, they lost those veterans on defense, but they also lost Hugh Jackson, which we'll find out. They brought up their, the quarterback's coach, so at least that gives Andy Dalton some continuity there. Who's been the quarterback coach since 2003. We saw he was passed up twice. You and I talked. He's probably going to play with the fire, but he's unproven. We don't know how he's going to do yet. But no, I agree with you. They didn't really lose too much to where they should draw. I don't know where people are saying they won't even make it to the playoffs. Wild card at least. Steelers, Big Ben's too injury prone. Le'Veon Bell with the suspension. And Andy
Martavis Bryant with his suspension.
They would be the closest team that touched the Bengals right now. The Browns, I'd feel, if Hugh Jackson can get them on the right path, there's still few years off. A couple good more drafts, we could be singing a different tune.
Mm-hmm. I would also agree. Pittsburgh, I think, is the biggest threat, but with all that's going on with their offense and the fact that there's still big question marks on their defense, I don't see them actually pushing Cincinnati out of their stronghold. Now let's jump into the AFC East, where I have picked the New York Jets as the division champ as of yesterday because Ryan Fitzpatrick has resigned. Fitzmagic is back. Love it. With what he did for the Jets last season and the fact that the Patriots have to open the year off without Brady for the first 4 games, and those 4 games, there is not a slouch among them. You could argue the Dolphins and the Bills, but those are division rivals. They're not going to take it easy on the kid. And so you can't even claim that the Patriots will start off 2-2. There's no guarantee with those 4 games. I view the Cardinals as a loss. And outside of that, the other 3 are going to be a major battle for them. So I'm taking the Jets to take the championship and the Patriots as the biggest threat.
I'm still going to leave the Patriots as one, even though I love Fitzmagic is back. They're the biggest threat. I'd remove the asterisks from them that I put the other day because Fitzmagic hadn't been signed yet. But no, I still like the Patriots. I think Garoppolo is going to have the weapons around him that I could easily see them going 2-2. The Dolphins and the Bills, I'd see as those wins. The other 2 maybe not, especially the Cardinals. But when Brady comes back, I wouldn't be surprised to see Brady go on an 11-win run because he's going to be pissed off, angry. Last time Brady had to come back pissed off and angry, look at what they did.
We'll see.
Well, I mean, yeah, we'll
especially
see.
If my Madden curse theory lives up to
that.
The AFC South. I am gonna stick with what we've been talking about. I have the Jacksonville Jaguars taking the division. I think that the way they're structured, the way that they built everything up, they have a decent enough offensive line. They have the weapons on offense now. Even if Osweiler plays as a game manager, he still has DeAndre Hopkins to throw to. That's huge. Look at what he did for 4 different quarterbacks last year. None of them are viable starters. And then, where did I just go?
I think you went to the Texans.
Because they're the biggest threat.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Houston's my biggest threat. But with their defense and without J.J. Watt, I don't think they have enough to put them over Jacksonville because Jacksonville has got all the 2 rookies that they brought in, the veterans that they brought in.
You kind of say 3 rookies. Dante Fowler didn't play last
Dante
year.
Fowler. So, yeah, technically 3 rookies. He is in contention for those awards. And then on offense, you got Bortles, who needs to throw less interceptions, but if he can lower his turnover ratio, Jacksonville could end up running away with the division.
I have the Colts as a winner. I think Andrew Luck is going to bounce back in a great way this year. He's going to completely put last season behind him. But I do have Jacksonville Jaguars as the biggest threat. I want to see them win. Let's see them get their first winning season since 2007. Let's see them start doing that, and then we can start really talking them. I think that they're one of the bigger sleepers in the AFC in the whole NFL. But I really think the Colts are in a better position as of right now to win, with Andrew Luck being their quarterback, being who he is.
See, I don't like the Colts this year because, one, there's too many holes on their defense, especially with their nose tackle now facing a suspension. And then on offense, their offensive line is one giant question mark. Can their left tackle actually stay healthy this year? Is their first-round pick, Ryan Kelly, going to live up to what he was labeled as, the top center? And then outside of that, who's going to play the other 3 positions? Are they going to be able to stay healthy? Because they've struggled with that too. I don't see the Colts as being able to do it. I actually have the Colts finishing last in the division. I think Mariota can take the Titans and put them above the Colts. Maybe even above the Texans if J.J. Watt ends up being that big of an impact loss for the Texans. So now we'll jump into the AFC West, where I have taken the Oakland Raiders and listed them as the champions for the division. With Denver and their quarterback situation, I think it's going to end up hurting them more than people anticipate, even with that defense. I've constantly mentioned it, but look at St. Louis. St. Louis has been listed as one of the top defenses year in and year out. Going into the season, they've been one of the top predict defenses, but their quarterback play has hurt them. They've finished 8-8, 7-9 for 3-4 years straight now because they haven't had good quarterback play. I could view that being the problem for Denver also. That's why I've taken Oakland. I mean, they have Carr, they have the young core on offense, and then they have this defense that's ready to explode, in my opinion, with all the weapons that they brought in. The fact that Khalil Mack was second in sacks last year. And so my biggest threat is Kansas City because they maintained everyone. Alex Smith is really good at not turning the ball over, and that's very important. Jamal Charles is back healthy. I think that the Chiefs will be the biggest threat to the Raiders, with the Chargers being a sleeper pick in that division.
I have the same thing as you. I think the Raiders and Jacksonville. We'll go back to Jacksonville. I think the Raiders are a year or 2 ahead of where Jacksonville is going to be. They're kind of doing this up thing. Raiders have already proven they can start winning. I think they finished with 9-7 last year.
No. 7-9 maybe.
Regardless, they finished better than Jacksonville did in a really tight division. With the Chiefs and the Broncos of last year, how good those 2 teams were. No one was talking about the Raiders. I think the Raiders brought in a lot of help on defense. Carr has just got another year under his belt.
7-9.
7-9. I actually have the Chargers placed higher than the Broncos.
I could see it happening. I mean,
I feel like it's going to happen.
Rivers is starting to get down towards the end of his career. I think he's going to... He was the only person that actually showed up every single week for that team. He lost Gates. He lost Keenan Allen. He lost all of his top targets, and yet he was still putting up big numbers because he wanted to win. Now that he's got Gates back with Hunter Henry, a new rookie tight end who's really talented, who is sitting right there. So if Gates does go down or they decide to run 2 tight end sets, they got it. They brought in Travis Benjamin, that little firecracker from the Browns last season. Keenan Allen's healthy again. They're expecting big things out of Melvin Gordon with the offensive line healthy and Ken Wisenhunt back coaching this team. I could see the Chargers really actually making a push for this division quietly.
Very quietly. Now with Rivers as quarterback, is it really going to be quietly?
Yeah, you're right. It'll be a lot of yelling and hoopla. All right, so now we're on to the NFC. And we'll start with the NFC North, which it's not biased. I swear, it is not biased. I'm taking the Vikings to win the NFC North.
Biased. Totally biased.
They didn't lose anything. I mean, outside of Phil Lodeholt retiring just a couple days ago, but they already addressed that. They had planned it out going into the offseason. They picked up a bunch of veteran offensive linemen to create line battles because that was their biggest weakness, offensive line. If they had addressed the left tackle position, I'd feel way more comfortable with this pick because that is the weakest part, but they're set on giving Khalil one more shot or at least letting Clemmings battle with him this preseason. Excuse me. Defensively, they kept everything in place. They even managed to bring back Terrence Newman as that veteran leader back there in the secondary. I like it. Chad Greenway decided to come back for one more year, play out one more season with Minnesota before he retires. I like what Minnesota brings, with the biggest threat obviously being Green Bay. If Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback, clearly you're going to be in the running for something. Eddie Lacy may not have cut down the weight, but he is back in shape. That's the important part.
He does look good, though.
He does look good.
A lot of weight.
With Jordy Nelson's tweaked knee, we could see some problems there, which is what they're claiming was the big problem with their passing attack last season. But one guy cannot make your entire passing game. I'm
calling it shenanigans.
Exactly.
There's a lot more going on.
The one thing that could end up hurting them, though, is if something comes out of that HGH thing or the PED thing with Clay Matthews.
Yeah.
That could end up hurting them.
There's one more.
Yeah, he's not with them. No.
There's one more.
No, yeah, he's not with them, though.
Isn't it?
He's a free agent now. I can't remember who it was.
Sucks for him. No, I've got the same thing as you. I think with the Vikings winning the NFC North last year, I think we saw a little
changing of the guard.
There.
Yes.
That's exactly what I was looking for. I think Teddy's starting to grow up nicely. He got a new shiny toy here in the draft, which is going to be huge. One of their biggest issue was they never had a big-bodied receiver. When was your last big-bodied receiver? Randy Moss?
No, Sidney Rice. That one season.
Sure. Okay. No, you got Laquan Treadwell now. This is going to be huge. Apparently, there's already great chemistry there. You have AP in the backfield. Sure, he's 31. We talked about this in part 1. Father Time hasn't caught him yet.
Not yet.
I think having that year off with that whole shenanigan thing that happened there, that helped a lot. That's probably why he's still able to keep going. But no, biggest threat, Packers, Aaron Rodgers, definitely. Have to watch the Jordy Nelson thing throughout training camp. I like Eddie Lacy now. Now that he's lost weight, hopefully he can keep it off, which is one of the problems. Is he gained a lot of weight last year. Mm-hmm. How do you gain weight? You're a running back in the NFL. How do you? Okay, we're getting away. Nope, have the same thing as you.
All right, so we'll jump into the NFC East, where I am sticking with the reigning champs. I'm going with Washington to take the division again.
You like that?
I do like that. It's just, I don't know, there's a lot going on in this division. I think that Washington could hang on to it just because of all the problems that Dallas is having suspension-wise. Mm-hmm. I don't think the Giants are going to end up coming together, at least not right away this season. If they do come together, it'll be something that helps them out next year. The Eagles, Doug Peterson did a great job going in there and cutting out the fat, but he didn't really replace it with anything. There's no real talent there. So I think the Eagles end up taking last place in the division, and then it'll end up being a battle between Washington, Dallas trying to get everyone on the field, and then the Giants trying to come together. I think Washington has the best chance given that they're already together.
With how history has, it seems, always played with the NFC East, there isn't ever really a clear-cut winner until week 15 through 17. It's always like that. You know, you can take last year, the Cowboys were kind of insignificant, but they didn't have Romo for over half the season. They should have him now. He's got that plate in his collarbone to hopefully, shore that up. I have the Redskins as the winner. I think they're the more complete team, more balanced team at the moment. Cowboys, like you said, the suspensions I think are going to hurt them greatly. Their top two leaders are gone for 10 weeks. That's huge.
Yep.
The Giants, it seems like they brought in a bunch of random expensive parts that might not mesh well at all together. We'll have to see how that happens. And the Eagles, I think there's going to be some growing pains. You'll have to get out of that Chip Kelly era, roll into the Doug Peterson era, and there's going to be some growing pains there.
Yeah.
I mean, we could still easily see this coming down to the final 2 weeks, them duking it out to see who's going to reign supreme. But I have the Redskins listed as the winner.
And don't get it wrong, Washington does have its question marks as well. How is Josh Norman?
Not the biggest question marks as the other three.
How is Josh Norman going to actually end up playing in their defense? And also on offense, is Matt Jones going to be able to hang on to the football this season? Can they get the running game going? So they're not without their question marks either. The NFC South. I got a little bit of a surprise pick here, but I'm going with Atlanta to take the division. I'm not going with the Saints, no. Sorry. I'm going with the Falcons to take the division this year. I think that Dan Quinn made leaps and bounds improvements in his first year there, getting them to 8-8, I believe, to finish the season.
After starting
6. Yep. He brought it all together. Now they went out in the offseason, and they may not have brought in gigantic names, but they brought in names that'll help him improve that defense and added depth to the defense. So when players start getting tired towards the end of the stretch, he has people that he can rotate in. And then, I've already said, I think Matt Ryan's a sleeper pick because they gave him more weapons on the offense, and I think that he'll be able to do more with that. They're expecting more of a role for Tevin Coleman this year, which should help relieve Devontae Freeman. And I think I like what Atlanta offers. Carolina, I have as the biggest threat, but Carolina doesn't have that. They got rid of Josh Norman, so their secondary is full of question marks. They don't have a big name that can come in and spell Jonathan Stewart or replace him when he gets hurt. Calvin Benjamin's back, great for Cam. But I don't see Carolina being able to follow up with what they did last year.
See, actually, I do have Carolina listed as the winner. They didn't have anyone to spell Jonathan Stewart last year. They still went on.
I think he's going to get hurt.
He might get hurt. I don't think that'll be as detrimental. I mean, they'll just throw Cam back there at running back. Does it half the time anyways. No, I mean, Kelvin Benjamin coming, I think that's huge. That's going to give Cam a nice big weapon. They lost Josh Norman. I don't think Josh Norman made that defense. I think that defense made Josh Norman. So, we'll see how they play without him. We'll see how Josh Norman does with the Redskins. I do have the Falcons. This must have kills me. I have the Falcons as the biggest threat. They started off, everyone forgets, they lost their last 7 games. They did end Carolina's undefeated streak. Mm-hmm. Don't forget that. And they did start off 5-0 or 6-0 last season. They were running up there. I just think we need to give it a year or two to get with them for the Dan Quinn system to take full effect. I don't see them, jumping ship from him like the Tampa Bay dumping Lovie Smith was terrible. Otherwise, I would have them up here with the Falcons as the biggest threat.
All right, so the NFC West, this is flip a coin. Yep. Sure, the Rams could end up pushing for it, but I don't think that they're ready to. They don't have the receiving weapons or the offensive line for Goff. Gurley running the crap out of the ball and the defense doing what they need to do could certainly put them in position to try and make a push for a wild card or something, but not the division championship. So flip a coin. Cardinals, Seahawks. One of them's going to take it. The other one's going to be right there with them. I could see them both going 12-4 or 13-3, and whoever has the better division record ends up taking the division. That's how it's going to play out. I think it'll be the Cardinals, with the Seahawks being the biggest threat, but it could go either way.
Yeah, definitely. You could play both ways. Seahawks, Cardinals. Seahawks lost Marshawn Lynch. Cardinals, we don't know how Tyron's going to come back from his ACL tear towards the end of the season last year. Cardinals, we could lose Palmer. Seahawks, Jimmy Graham could not show up again. You could take this either way. Seahawks lost some pretty big talent on defense. Cardinals, again, Tyron, he's that backfield. He's the honey badger. We don't know what he's going to be like when he comes back. That's the biggest question mark on him right now. Flip a coin. I don't know. I could easily see them finishing dead even. And, they have to do some crazy tiebreaker procedure to figure out who wins it.
All right, so our Super Bowl picks, I said it when we ended back in February, and I'm going to stick with it. I'm saying the Cardinals are going to beat the Jets. Don't think I'm crazy. I'm not crazy. The Cardinals are the best complete team in the NFL, especially now that they've upgraded that pass rush. And the Jets have got Fitzmagic back, so they have their quarterback from last year. They have the receivers and Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker, and don't forget about Devin Smith, who they drafted last year as that slot speed guy. Their offensive line is a big question mark. If Ryan Clady can stay healthy for once in his career, the Jets could have a good, solid offensive line for this season. Defensively, Todd Bowles, we know what he brings to the table as a coach, and we see the weapons that they have on the defensive side of the ball. The Jets could end up finishing as one of the top defenses as well, and I think it'll be a nice, hard-nosed defensive football game for the Super Bowl. Cardinals beat the Jets.
I've got two teams here that one you would like and one my wife would like. See, who do I want more mad at me? Meh. I've got the Vikings beating the Bengals. I think the Vikings they got screwed last year. Walsh missing that kick, and I called it too. I remember we were in Target watching the game on my phone. Looked over at my wife before it even happened. I looked over at my wife and was like, Walsh is going to miss this kick. Sure enough, get a message from him. God damn it, Walsh! So I think they had a bad break. I definitely think they could have taken. Where would you guys have gone next week? Carolina?
No, we would have gone to Arizona.
Well, they were just at Arizona. Gave Arizona a run for their money. Like we said, the Vikings definitely improved this offseason. Especially bringing in Laquan Treadwell is going to help that offense a lot. It's going to definitely take the load off AP's back, which could do great things. May even spell him out another couple of years longer than he should be going. Bengals, I don't think. I think rumors of their demise have been greatly exaggerated.
I think they finally get over that playoff hump,
though. I think they will finally get over. I think the playoffs last year. I think this year they'll actually keep their head, hang on to the ball two hands. I think they'll get over that. Not only will they get over that playoff hump, I think they'll play in the wild card. They'll make it to the Super Bowl this year and lose, but it's about time the Vikings win after losing 4 times already.
I would be eternally grateful.
You're welcome.
All right, so now we're going to do our award picks, our preseason all too early award picks.
Way too early. I don't even like my MVP pick.
Start with the MVP, most valuable player, biggest trophy. But the problem I have with it is it's not necessarily about what the player's done, it's more about what the team's done. And given that I think that the Bengals will end up finishing the AFC with the best record, and I think Dalton's going to put up big enough stats to where he's going to be relevant, I'm going to actually pick a complete dark horse, somebody that nobody's really looking at. I'm going with Andy Dalton to win the MVP.
See, I think Carson Palmer is going to win the MVP. I think the Cardinals are going to have one of the better records in the NFC. I'm pretty sure he was in the talks in there. Cam's spectacular season last year. Brady's gone for 4 weeks, so that's going to help
4
a lot.
years.
Yeah, 4 years. Yes. No, I think Carson, he's another kind of dark horse type. Since he's been to the Cardinals, he has been a phenomenal player. He needs to stay healthy. He needs to get the most out of Larry Fitz before he goes.
Yeah, definitely.
I think Fitz already came out and said that once Carson goes, we can see him go too.
Yeah.
Devastating.
I wouldn't be surprised if Bruce Arians hangs it up then too.
Oh, I would.
Offensive Player of the Year. I'm going with another kind of sleeper, but he's not a complete sleeper. If people are really surprised by this, I'd be surprised. I'm going with David Johnson, the running back for Arizona. I think that statistically, because that's what the Offensive Player of the Year actually is based off of his stats, statistically, he could do a lot. He's a return man. He's a receiving back. He's a running back. I think that he could possibly set some records for all-purpose yards for this season. And if he were to, that'd even give him a good push towards MVP. But I think Offensive Player of the Year he takes.
I'm not taking really a dark horse here, but this one has an asterisk next to it. I'm gonna take Antonio Brown. The asterisk being, Big Ben can stay healthy. Even when Big Ben wasn't healthy last season, I think Brown 138 receptions, 1,600 yards receiving, 10 touchdowns. That's a great year for some players. That's career year. That's not even Brown's highest touchdown total. Over the last 3 seasons, he has improved. In almost every category across the board, he has improved. I'm calling this year he's going to win Offensive Player of the Year. He's going to ellipse 145 receptions and 2,000 yards receiving.
Okay, so on the Defensive Player of the Year, and I'm going with last year's runner-up, and I believe you are as well.
I believe I am too.
Khalil Mack, Oakland, with J.J. Watt pretty much out of the picture. It's going to be a nice open race. I also like Marcus Peters from Kansas City. In his rookie year, he had 8 interceptions. It'd be interesting to see if he could, try and make a push for that again.
Nice trying to see a corner win Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. But I like Mack. I like what he brings to the table. I like the fact that Oakland went out and put other weapons back there, so not all the attention is going to be on him. Yeah,
I'm going to go with Mack as well. Like you said, Watt recovering from back surgery. No solid timetable when he's going to return to the playing field. When is he going to return 100% healthy? That's huge. If he's on that field and he's actually going to be a weak point, it's not going to help his case at all. I can't say more about Mack. Love him. I think he's going to take it. I think Peters, he's still a couple years off. I mean, you still got Lee Kuechly to contend with. You still got a bunch of defenders to play with.
Yeah. Tyrann Mathieu.
Yeah, if you could play a full season, that'd be nice.
Okay, Offensive Rookie of the Year. I got one to return the favor here. Michael Thomas, receiver for the Saints. He was a second-round pick for them. I think that offensively, Drew Brees is going to be able to spread the ball around, and he's going to end up being one of the bigger targets, especially in the red zone. His big 6'3" body. I think that he ends up taking Offensive Rookie of the Year from Ezekiel Elliott.
Oh, you're not going to let that go out. I unfortunately went Ezekiel Elliott. It's hard to ignore that offensive line he's going to be running behind.
I know.
He's also going to be given the ball a lot, especially if Romo goes down, which history shows he probably will go down.
Especially with the collarbone injury twice.
And surgery coming. Yeah, it's not good. He's going to be getting the rock a lot. Could easily see 350 carries this year for him, but it's just going to put him way out of contention. No one's going to touch him. That offensive line is going to make him. All
right, so now on to Defensive Rookie of the Year.
We have the same as again.
I'm going with Reggie Ragland, linebacker for Buffalo. We know how great of a defensive mind Rex Ryan is. We know what he likes to do with his defenders. Ragland is an old thumper-type linebacker, and I could see him racking up the tackles and running away with Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I've got Ragland listed here, too. I think he's going to fit in perfectly with Ryan. Their personalities are going to mesh beautifully. I could even see Ryan, kind of let him go off and do his own thing because he's going to do what Ryan's going to tell him to do anyways. So
keep an eye on Dante Fowler, though.
Yes.
Some people are going to forget that he is technically still considered a rookie because of his injury, and if he were to, hit double-digit sack totals, playing opposite of Malik Jackson and on the same, field with Jalen Ramsey back there, and
who could also be another contender for it.
Jacksonville could have a couple people that are up for this award. So comeback player of the year. I'm going with Terrell Suggs. I know that you got players who are quarterbacks who are in contention for the award, but I like Suggs. I've always been a fan of him. When he came out of college, I was sitting in the car chanting, "Pick Suggs" when the Vikings were on the clock. And they went and screwed that all up. But Kevin Williams was a great consolation prize. Suggs, I think, is going to come back and from his Achilles injury, which could be a problem. But I think he's going to come back and he's going to end up making waves, and I could see him taking it.
I think, as much as you don't want a quarterback to be on the list, I've definitely got Andrew Luck here. After last season, his lacerated kidney. I can't even think of all the injuries he suffered last year. He didn't play healthy at all last season. I know that much. I think he got hurt even during preseason and tried to play through it, which didn't bode well, clearly, for Indianapolis. I think he's going to come back great next year. I think he's going to be the Andrew Luck we had started to come to know and love. You know, people starting to maybe whisper, is he the greatest quarterback, you know, to maybe ever play? I think we're going to see that Andy Luck come back, even with their turnstile offensive line.
And last but not least, Coach of the Year. I'm going with Jack Del Rio for Oakland. I think that he brings them a division championship, that he gets them back to the playoffs with a winning record for the first time since 2002. It'd be huge things that could fall into place for Del Rio, and he has the players to do it. So I'm going with Jack.
See, I'm kind of going the same way here. I've got Gus Bradley, Jacksonville. I mean, it's going to backfire on us. Bradley, his first year of coaching, 4-12, 2013. Then he went 3-13. Last year they went 5-11. This year, I could easily see him 10-6, 11-5, easy, if they can live up to the hype and deal with the pressure that is now starting to surround this team. And definitely easily at least see them being a legitimate contender for the AFC South.
All right, so that wraps up part 2 of this. I hope you enjoyed part 1 and part 2. If you haven't watched part 1, go watch that. You can see Ethan's head a little bit in the screen.
Say hi, Ethan.
If you've heard any of our previous podcasts, he is the one that does the picks. He is the Wonder Kid. So yeah, thanks for tuning in.
See you next time.